So, oh, no worry, no worries. Welcome everyone to the latest edition of Healing Conversations. It's at the top of the hour. We usually give it a few minutes to let everybody trickle in. I know it's Thursday morning, so hopefully we'll have some more people here. We have a very beautiful subject today and a beautiful healing story and inspiration for all of us. And so today's story, just to whet our appetite, is how sobriety empowers me to manifest my reality and live my dreams. So today we have Shannon Lorraine speaking on that subject of sobriety, how she's been empowered to really manifest the type of life she wants. And she's a busy woman. She's doing quite a bit. And so I know a lot of times, we say, well, I want to do this, I want to do that, but then life gets in the way. And sometimes, it's natural to run away from pain and run towards pleasure and to want to numb ourselves and try not to, face our reality. And so we'll see, what nuggets she has to share with us, what insights, what wisdom. And so let's give it another minute or two before we do our formal introduction.
Sounds good. And I think I'm going to close the door to this beautiful business just because there's some cars going by. And so I shall return.
Okay. I say let's get the call started just to get the ball rolling. I know we usually have people trickle in after the hour, and we're all also live on Facebook, so I'm sure we have some viewers on Facebook as well, and everybody's eager to get this going. I know I have a friend that's jumping on the call. He won't be here for too long, but I know he will be here pretty soon. Anyhow, so again, today we have Shannon Lorraine on the subject of how sobriety empowers me to manifest my reality and live my dreams. A little bit about Shannon. She has an MA degree in education. She has worked in the Santa Cruz School District from grades K to 5 as a teacher at Monarch Community School at Westlake. She's also a master of many trades, with sobriety being the catalyst that has empowered her to live her dreams and manifest her reality. She's a co-owner of 4 Sprouts Aftercare Daycares. She's also the director and creative of Creative Eden Lounge. This is a heart-centered business that holds space for many types of businesses, healers, like ecstatic dance and what have you, even salsa and bachata nights. So quite a variety of different businesses that are using this space to share with the community here in Santa Cruz. Um, she's also a fire and belly dancer and a caretaker through VA. She has a really full calendar and is a busy woman. And today we're going to learn how she's been empowered to lead so many businesses and have such a busy life, that sobriety was a catalyst that helped her to get where she's at today. So welcome, Shannon.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful to be able to be a part of this, and thanks for asking if I was interested in, speaking today. So, I'll just give a little bit of background about myself. I'm going to be mentioning some of the beautiful blessings that have been in my life alongside some of the darker, harder parts too, because I think that the shadow side is also what makes us who we are, right?
Right.
And so, I'll start by saying, honestly, I had a really privileged childhood. I was super grateful to have loving parents who, wanted the best for me. But like any humans and parents, that's a hard job. And, they got a lot on their plates too. And I found that as much as they had so much love for me, they also had their own baggage that came along with being a human. And so I think, for example, like my mom worked really hard as a nurse, and it was a Vietnam vet, and so that carried its own PTSD. And then because of how she was raised, she was told, if you do this, people won't like you, or you need to do these things in order to be liked. And so I I was given a lot of that throughout my childhood, which was a lot of, if you do or say this, people aren't going to like you. And so I kind of grew up feeling like I had to be the best, I had to like do all these things and in order for people to love and accept me. And I felt like I put a lot of pressure on myself. And I'm grateful for her, teaching me these things and like kind of putting some of that on me in a sense, because it inspired me. It like lit a fire to to do better, to be the best version of myself. But I think that it also led me down a path of feeling not good enough in other ways, because out of fear that people weren't going to like me. And so then um the burden that we put on ourselves so much of the time is like probably one of the hardest things. Like we are our own toughest critics all the time. Yeah, so that was interesting. And then, I mean, I also, to be honest, I had an alcoholic father who I love and adore, but he had his own shit, he had his own stuff that things that I saw that were hard to see, and as much as he loved me, he also had his moments of anger and frustration and taking it out on me or other people, not physically, but like more emotionally, I think. And then that continued this like process of self, not hatred, but like feeling like I wasn't good enough. And whatever it was, like all the things that they brought to me, it lit this fire. Like I wanted to be fearless in pursuit of what was going to set my soul on fire. And so therefore I started going for these things, even though it was hard. And even though I started drinking, I was still able to get through some of it, but I think that once I became sober, the process was so much easier. It alleviated a lot of the emotional distress, and I was able to kind of not be masking it as much. So for a long time, I loved kids. I always loved working with kids. I was a nanny, I babysat, I taught dance and gymnastics and all sorts of things that had to do with kids. And I ended up getting a master's in education and thought that I wanted to be a teacher, which I did and I loved, but I also hated it all at the same time. Like, I don't know if any of you out there are teachers, but man, that is one hell of a job and is a lot of work and a lot of pressure. And especially for someone who is a perfectionist like myself, I felt like I was never doing a good enough job, even though I was working my tushy off and putting in the work, but it just never felt like enough. And so I worked for 7 years in the Santa Cruz City School District at both a regular school called Westlake. It's just, a public elementary school here in Santa Cruz. And then the last 6 years I was doing at an alternative school, teaching thematically, teaching in multi-age classrooms. And it was beautiful, but I felt like I had told myself I was supposed to be a teacher and therefore I was going to stick with it. But every year I kept telling myself like, oh, it'll get easier. It'll get easier. And I don't know if it was my ego or something that was telling me that I had to stick with it. But it honestly wasn't up until I stopped drinking that I started realizing that like I was kind of miserable. Like as much as I told myself that I loved being with the kids, which I did, there were so many aspects of teaching that just weren't resonating anymore with me. And I wouldn't allow myself to feel it. Like I just was like, oh, it's fine, and I'd teach and then I'd come home and I'd drink a glass of wine or 3 or whatever, had my vodka pineapples on the weekends and sometimes during the week, whatever it was, but I was masking these emotions of like not even enjoying my job. And it's like, so many of us know that your career, it plays such a huge role in your life. And, really it takes up the majority of our time every day, like Monday through Friday. If you have a typical job, that is what you're doing. And I ended up just telling myself like, okay, well, this is what I chose and I have to stick with it. But as soon as I like started tapping into who I really was when I stopped drinking, I realized like, I'm super creative. Why am I not even bringing more of that creativity into the classroom? And I felt like I was restricted because of guidelines for schools, like
Mhm.
what you're supposed to be teaching, how you're supposed to be teaching. And I mean, I was blessed to be in an alternative school. I really did have a lot of autonomy, but I think just as a teacher in a public school, I still felt this weird pressure to act a certain way. And it wasn't working for me. So basically I started thinking about what was actually making me happy, and was teaching where I was supposed to be, or was I able to look outside the box and do something different. And as soon as I decided that for myself, I was like, I think that I should make a change, and
Mhm.
not just a change in career, but a change in lifestyle and sobriety.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what would you say was the big aha that triggered this sudden transformation?
Yeah, there was a handful of ahas actually. So one of them actually had to do with my teaching partner
Hmm.
who I was working with, and I didn't even know, but there was one day when she had told me that she was in sobriety and
Hmm.
that she wasn't drinking. And I kind of was like, huh? Like, people, you're not, I just, not that I assumed everybody was, because if I'm honest, I also had a best friend at the time who was going on 20 years sober, and then a boyfriend who was also in recovery. And so I knew that it was a thing, but I hadn't really started looking at myself. And it was
Hmm.
almost like this trifecta of my teaching partner, my best friend, and my boyfriend at the time, who all were not drinking. And I was kind of like, what am I doing? Like,
Hmm.
why do I feel this need to fill this like internal void with alcohol? And I really started looking more deeply at why I was drinking. And I came to the realization that it was because I was covering up my emotions.
Mm.
There was
Hmm.
traumas of the self-doubt and the lack of self-love and feeling not good enough, and the
Mm.
perfectionism and the all of that, like just pain that had built up over time that I was hiding. And then I would use alcohol also for any kind of emotion. I was like,
Hmm.
oh, I'm super excited and happy, so I'm gonna drink. Oh, I'm gonna go to this concert and it's gonna be so much fun, so like I'm gonna have more fun if I drink.
Hmm.
And I just started convincing myself that like I should be drinking for pretty much anything that was
Hmm.
going on in my life, whether I was sad, happy, embarrassed. Like
Hmm.
I used it as a as a bad tool, you
Right.
know? Um, and
That's a powerful reflection. I think a lot of us don't really, um, we're not really taught in this society, right, to feel our feelings, that it's safe to feel our feelings. I think a lot of the indoctrination that we have is to suck it up, buttercup, so to speak, right? Like, it's weakening, to feel your emotions. It's not safe. And so I think that's the paradigm shift that I feel like we're seeing in today's society, where we're having these type of conversations where it is safe to feel our feelings. It's okay. We don't need to run away. It's actually a sign of strength, right? And
absolutely.
transformation to really sit with what we're feeling. Although this space is really created on acceptance of all, right? Whether we feel them, whether we don't. It's my perspective that just like a beautiful canvas is created with a many variety of colors, shapes, and forms to create a grand masterpiece, so it is with us in life. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know because we need to experience one extreme in order to have our eyes open and be able to have a realization. Then, much like you, we can experience life differently. And
Yeah.
so I'm sure the contrast of experiencing was what opened your eyes. Wait a second, like look at you now from where you were at before.
I
And you seem
know.
like your energy is just like, whoa.
Thank you. Whoa, yeah, no, I mean, and I guess that's the thing. It's like I want to be the light now. Not that I wasn't the light before, but
Hmm.
my shadow, my darkness was kind of hiding it, and the insecurity is really what was the biggest issue. And, you know, I'm not trying to blame anyone because I only have myself to really blame, but there are reasons behind why we feel certain ways. And so, you know, you're talking about like the covering up of emotions. And I mean, my dad, unfortunately, love him, love you, you know, like I remember as a kid, anytime I'd start crying, he'd be like, no, like, stop crying, like, you're fine, you know? And I just, but I was a crier. I was always an emotional person. Like I'm a feeler, I'm an empath. I feel deeply. And so then that was also really hard for me, being told not to cry and then feeling like anytime I was crying that it was a bad thing. So then I think I started using alcohol to try to force myself not to cry as much. Oh, well, I just don't want to feel, so I'm going to drink so that I'm good. And instead it just, you know, was not helpful. It didn't benefit me. It didn't bring out the light that I had inside me. And you know, I think you're talking about like how I also created this space to bring to light other people's light. You know, one of the things that inspired me to open Creative Eden Lounge, initially it was going to be a daycare. So I have 4 elementary age daycares, and my business partner Jordan and I, who's a wonderful human, he had seen this space that was for rent, and we were like, oh, let's open another daycare. And so we were going to open it, but then we realized that there's not enough outdoor space to really have it be a functioning daycare, and we'd only be able to have a handful of kids. And so we said, you know, well, what if I taught art? What if we did other creative things here with kids and adults to make it so that other people could like live their dreams too. And then it just kind of started spiraling. Like I started getting all these beautiful ideas of what could be. And that's when like the magic really happened, was when I just believed in myself. Like I had a clear thinking, right? Like I was no longer hiding anything. I was just thinking to myself, like, I can be anything I want. I can do anything I want. I can help a lot of people if they want to be, you know, it's a choice. Like I had to choose the best path for myself, and also bring to light opportunities for other people, be that pathway for others to see what they were capable of. And so I started, like, you can see some of these things behind me. Basically, the week before we opened was when I started thinking about a bunch of things. I was like, you know, I just want anything and everything. And so I started thinking about all of the potentials of the space. I was like, oh, I want to have open mic nights. Oh, it'd be fun to do clothing swaps. I could teach belly dance. We could have yoga and live music, whatever it was. I just started thinking about all the things I wanted, and kind of let it sit. I didn't even really have a plan as to how I was going to get these things, but I knew that there were people out there that would want to offer them. So then I started like reaching out to a couple people and being like, hey, like, I know you teach yoga. Would you be interested in teaching a couple classes? Oh, I know you like to dance. Would you like to take a dance class with me? You know, it kind of started small. Like I didn't have all these things happening like right off the bat. I had a bunch of ideas, but nobody to back them yet. But I just knew that they would happen. And it was kind of insane. The idea of manifesting, where you say, I know that this thing has a potential. Let's see what happens. And just having faith in the process. I mean, I would say that almost everything that I have on the wall, I have a bunch of things behind me and then things over here and on that wall and on this wall. Everywhere. Almost all of them have come to fruition in some way, shape, or form. And it's not me putting them all on. It's now people reaching out to me going, hey, I'd love to use the space for this, you know, yoga for all movement practice. Oh, I love salsa and bachata. So I had made this sign. You guys can't see it behind us right now, but I was like, I want to have salsa and bachata nights because I love to dance. I now have 2 separate salsa groups that teach weekly. Wednesday nights, we have Salsa Gente. It's husband and wife that come in and teach every Wednesday night. And then Thursdays, we have Salsa Cumbiando Mestizo that come and teach both salsa and bachata. And I'm like, this is so cool that people are now using the space and get to shine their light. Yeah, it's it blows my mind that just by having an idea and then following through, that it can come to fruition. And if I'm honest, like this is my passion project. Like this is what I love having, but it's not even about money anymore. It's about having the space for people to live their dreams, because I know how important it was for me to do things that like that actually set my soul on fire, that made me happy, rather than feeling like I had to do the grind. I mean, when I was, if I'm honest, like part of the reason why I ended up just deciding to stop teaching was because come Sunday night, I started crying because I didn't want to wake up on Monday. I didn't want to wake up. And I was just like, this is not working. I can't be miserable. I can't keep creating my own suffering. And as soon as I realized that I had the power to make a choice, that's when everything shifted for me. I was like, every day is a new day. Every moment is a new moment. And I get to choose my reality every day, every minute moving forward. You know, if I'm not happy in this moment, what can I change? Right. What can I change about it? And that's when I was like, you know what? I'm going to resign. I literally, I told myself I didn't want to resign on a bad note, meaning I was teaching via Zoom, just like this. This was my reality every day with a bunch of kids that were like this. Their legs were in the air, their faces, they were just, I was like, how do I get kids' attention? And, you know, I'm an animated person. So I'd be like, all right, guys, this is what we're going to do, you know, and like trying to get their attention, but I was losing my mind because it was so much energy. And so I decided to go into the classroom one more year when we were back in person. Within the first month, I was like, this is not working. I put in my resignation. I had no idea what I was going to do. I just knew that I was sober and I was finally like clear that this was the right choice, even though I had no idea of what I was going to do. I literally just resigned without any idea. And I said, I will do anything for my happiness. At this point, it's not about what I do. It's about how I feel.
Right. I see many gold nuggets of insights and wisdom in what you're expressing. The first thought that you said about manifesting, this is about how sobriety helped you manifest and live the life of your dreams, right? I feel like you talked a lot about thoughts and how this is an expression of what came through for you. And I really feel and subscribe to the belief that there is no difference between what wants to come through and the manifesting. We are the same difference. So in other words, a lot of times we think, well, how am I going to do that? How's that going to work out? Well, you're an inspiration of how that can work out. You simply had the thought, creative thought, you create a space and you went after it. And look at you now. You have this heart-centered business that opens the door to many other people that are also wanting to live through their heart-centered expression, right? And doing things that they love. And so just you talking, I mean, look at the fire that you have. So I really feel like for us on the other side of the camera, we can learn a lot from that. You know, sometimes we're just miserable, right? With whatever it is that we're doing. A lot of times the job is like what makes us miserable. And the job takes up so much of our time. And so thus, like our whole expression, our whole experience of life is one of misery. And so just leaning into what can I do to change the narrative? That was the other thought you were talking about, like the stories. All there ever is right this moment, right? A lot of times we say, well, in the future, I'll be happy. I'm going to be miserable until I retire, right? For example, and then I'm going to retire.
I'll be happy when.
Right. That when doesn't exist in the calendar. I mean, it exists as a date, but that when is always experienced in the now. And so now is all there is. So a lot of times we get stuck in narratives where someday I'll be happy, someday I'll live through my heart, someday I'll do the things that want to come through. But no, right now is that moment. We can always change that story. We can take inspired action like Shannon and like do what wants to come through, you know, follow that those creative thoughts, follow the guidance that we have, our internal compass, and really live inspired life. So thank you for sharing those powerful thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I just feel like it was the moment that I decided to embrace the idea that anything is possible and that I can live my dream if I so choose to. that it'll happen, rather than just settling for what I thought I had to do. It was just opening my mind to the idea that like I can be whoever I want. And I get to be that and choose to be that every day and put forth my best foot and put a smile on my face if I feel happy, right? Which most of the time I am. I'm content. I am a busy lady though. I have the 4 daycares. I have Creative Eden Lounge. I'm caretaking for my mom. But if I'm honest, like I don't think I'd be able to get through all of life's challenges if I wasn't sober. There's if I were to just think back on this year, the amount of like things that kind of fell into my lap in a not so positive way was a lot. I ended up having to become the caretaker for my mom. We had opened up 2 more daycares about a year ago. We let's see, I lost my cat 2 days ago. My cat passed away. I love her. May she rest in peace. I had an ex pass away of fentanyl overdose. I had multiple best friends' parents die. Like there's just so many things that were happening that were hard, like the shadow of life. But I was able to move through it with beauty and grace. And like here I am today, even though like I just had this really sad thing happen to me a couple days ago. I'm okay. Like I'm grateful. I focus on the gratitude. I focus on the blessings, on the beautiful things that are in my reality, and get to process all of the negative stuff with a clear mind and positive intentions. And it just inspired me to listen to my body, to listen to my needs. What is it that I needed for myself to live the life that I really want? I mean, I now have more energy and drive because I just am who I am. Like I'm grounded. I am me. I am like living from the heart, and my soul gets to just like be this beautiful blossoming flower rather than feeling like the anxiety, the depression, the frustration, I still have those things within me. And I mean, honestly, like I have this sleeve on my arm right now, and this is represents my shadow side. And it's like I have depression, anxiety. I have a flower that represents my dad, who's a narcissist, that we have these qualities within us that we don't necessarily love, but I'm learning now to love those parts of myself fully so that I can just love who I am, even with the dark stuff,
You just hit on a very important point that I think is part of the theme for today. It's this acceptance of our light and our dark, and the integration of really our whole expression. I feel like a lot of times when we don't accept ourselves is when we really don't want to face ourselves, when we don't want to feel, when we don't want to confront, and we run away.
Yeah.
Right? Like we run away from our dark, we make it wrong. But in reality, it's my understanding, at least this perspective, that I had a few years ago, like insight was, wait, everything is unconditional love. If you look at all life is expressed in an infinite variety of ways. Humans, for example, so many different perspectives, ways of being, and we may not all agree with them all, but the sun, I should say, shines upon all. The rain benefits all. Fruit, vegetation, everything grows for all of us without discrimination. And so it is with us. If we can learn to accept our whole expression, then there's no need to run away from anything, to suppress anything, to numb anything. Then we could just simply, right, unconditionally love and accept ourselves just as we are. And I think that is so transformational. At least that was transformational for me. That realization of, wait a second, it's okay. Everything's okay. Nothing's ever not okay. We're just on different journeys, different, part of the journey going all to the same place. Like Ram Dass said, we're just walking each other home, and it doesn't matter where we're at. And if we can just learn to love and accept ourselves a little bit more, how much better can we experience life, and how much better can we be a space for other people to also unconditionally love and accept themselves. And, what kind of world would we live in if everybody just had that a little bit more love and acceptance of themselves? Really feel like that is the catalyst for change, and we are that catalyst for change.
Yeah. And we get to be that light for ourselves and for other people that see us too. You know, like in, I now get to choose the love and the self-acceptance and like the embracing myself wholeheartedly rather than like falling down this path of suffering and repeating old negative patterns that weren't serving me. You know, it's like I've have the snake on my arm that represents the shedding of things that no longer serve me, you know, but it doesn't mean that those things didn't help me to be who I am. I'm grateful for all the experiences. They made me who I am today, but I also get to hold those in a beautiful way and go, you know, without those negative experiences, I wouldn't have been able to push forward and be who I am and like create this more beautiful path moving forward and remind myself that every day is that new day, new moment, you know, and now I get to focus on all the positive, beautiful qualities and things that I have in my life. Like I get to, instead of spending all my money on alcohol, which, you know, a lot of us would spend a lot of money on drinks, going out every day, every weekend, whatever it is. I now get to spend it on things that I love or other more positive addictions like my tattoos or travel or going to concerts, good food, you know, going on adventures with friends and doing things that we love, filling our time with things that lift us up rather than bring our vibration down. And honestly, it's changed my life. Like I'm so grateful for it all because it's brought me to this beautiful place of like internal peace. And you know, I no longer have to worry about, oh, if I do or say this thing, people aren't going to like me because I don't care if people like me. I love myself. I know who I am. And the people that don't, that like are either deterred from from who we are, those aren't people we want in our reality anyways, you know? So we're lucky to be able to be grounded enough to know that anybody that comes into our life are supposed to be there. They need and want to learn from us, and we get to help with that transformational process. I mean, some of the things that I also was thinking about is just reminding myself that all of my basic needs are met every day. You know, like I think that sometimes I would get anxious about, oh, well, I need to have this job because I need to make money. Oh, and if I don't have money, then I don't have food. And if I don't have money, then I won't have shelter and all that. I've gotten to a place where I'm like, I know I'm going to be good for the rest of my life. I am held by my community, by my family, my friends, myself. Like I know that I'm capable of having the life that I want. I don't have to worry about food or anything because even if I didn't have a job, I have people that love me and would feed me, right? Or house me. And I tell my friends this sometimes too when they're like, well, I don't know if I should like stay in my job or I'm afraid I'm not going to blah, 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 blah. You know, I can't find a house. And I'm like, you know, I love you. Like, you got my couch, you got my bed, like, don't worry. And so it's like, now that I know that all of my needs are met, I get to focus on the other parts of myself, which is like the internal healing, which will forever be a lifelong process, right? I'm not saying that like I'm perfect and I have nothing left to heal because I do, you know, but I now have the courage to keep tackling those things and like poking and prodding at some of the things that I didn't want to accept and learning how to love them and be okay with them and accept all that. And really it's like, I also think there's finding a way to be consistent about sticking with my goals of what I want for myself and leveling up, you know, not being complacent with, well, this is what I'm doing and I just have to do it. It's like the moments that we are finding ourselves in misery and suffering, I think those are the moments when we have to ask ourselves, like, what actually has to change? What is it that I'm hating? Do I hate my job? Do I hate the person that I'm with? Do I not want to be in this friendship anymore? What is it? You know, am I eating bad foods and is that actually making me feel like crap? Like just checking in with ourselves and what is going to be better. What habits do we have that
I
are
do
bad?
appreciate a point that you just made um, all our basic needs, you mentioned all our basic needs for the most part are met, right? We have shelter, we have food, we have clothing. And so what if our basic needs are met, do we really need to be in survival, right? Can we start focusing within and can we start thinking in terms of how can I create the experience that I want to have? How do I want to feel every day? What am I committed to? Some of the important questions like how do I want to feel? What's my most cherished experience? Is something that I learned in one of my masterminds with Matthew Ferry is like, what is my most cherished experience? And for me, that was inspiration, really like moving beyond the survival thoughts, which can really occupy our head and we can like really ruminate, right? About, and what can I do to, look within and really
Mhm.
say, who am I? That's like a practice that I do. Like, who am I? And then one of the things that we talked about is a lot of times, what I find myself is saying, okay, I'm this body, right? But what else am I? Well, apparently this character is nothing but a bunch of stories, right? And beliefs. And you mentioned that a lot of times we're these adults, and like you mentioned, your parents, right? And I have
Mhm.
parents, we all have parents. A lot of times we have this trauma, we have these core beliefs that are really based on our parents doing the best they can, right? Society doing the best they can. But a lot of these beliefs are really like we're like little kids with perspectives that were based on survival. Our parents are in survival, right? Like they're trying to cope. Like you mentioned, your dad was drinking, narcissist, your mom, PTSD. All those things get imprinted into our expressions. A lot of times we're just simply so caught up in survival, trying to meet needs that are already met. Can we really look in the mirror and say, wait, are my needs met? Can I look
Mhm.
beyond that? Can I really see what stories are running in the background that are filtering and really tainting my experience of life to less than? And then you mentioned something super important that I think for me has been super transformational is this thought of focusing on what to be grateful for. What are all the many blessings that are in my life? Because if we really sit and think and look, we're going to see that there's a lot to be thankful for. Like, I mean, our needs are met, for one thing, our basic survival needs are met. I mean, I look outside. I mean, there's beautiful green trees. The sun's out. It's a beautiful day here in Santa Cruz, right? There's so much. If we just walk out the door, if we look within, look at our family, so many things to be grateful for. And I really feel that is so transformational when we really focus. There's this saying that energy flows where attention goes and it expands. And so instead of having this perspective of, wait, I'm in scarcity, I don't have enough, life sucks, I hate this, I hate that, I resist this, I resist that. That expands and that becomes our whole picture of life. A lot of times we get into this very narrow perspective. And really this space is really to kind of like expand that with people like Shannon, like all these different guest speakers showing us like, wait, there's a different way to look at life and we can get inspired by these stories. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
bring out that point since you
No,
brought it
totally.
out.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And I feel like it really is about asking ourselves questions, looking at ourselves in the mirror and asking like, what do you want? What do you need? What is it that's going to make you happy? What brings you joy? What habits are you doing that aren't serving you? What ones do you want to be practicing more of? Like, and incorporate that into your life on a more regular basis. Like, create structure, create routines, do things that lift you up, and like bring out that beautiful light. For me, like I need dance. Here we go. Here I am right here. Like I need to dance in order to be the best version of myself. Like dance is how I create this like beautiful energy that comes out. And then the more that I dance, the more me I feel. And like when I'm on the dance floor, I'm a different person, like
Mhm.
I am exactly who I'm supposed to be in those moments. And it just brings me like immense joy. I also like to ask myself, like, what other things do I want to shed and release? What's in my way? What is stopping me from actually living the life that I want? And like, how can I manifest it? What are the barriers? Are there physical barriers? Are there emotional barriers, mental barriers? And like, how can I push past them? How can I break down that wall so that I can be exactly who I want to be? Because sometimes there are just little things that we just have to like let go of, release certain things to be able to make space to call in all the things that will serve us in a more powerful way. and, really just ask yourself, what is your end goal? What do I want out of this life? And if I'm not on a path to be getting what it is that I think that I want, then I need to change course. I need a new perspective. I need a new route. Like I need to put on some new shoes. Like, and yeah, I think just talking to myself in a positive way, like having that positive self-talk rather than the anxiety driven thoughts that and negative self-talk that would once get into my head. And I'm not saying they don't still happen, but I catch myself more quickly now. And I'm like, wait a second. Why am I even saying that? Like, I am worthy. I am beautiful. I am powerful. I can do anything I want. I deserve anything and everything that I want in my life, and can have that if I actually truly believe it. But as soon as we start having letting those little thoughts of like, I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough, or, oh, that would be too hard, I'm not going to be able to get there, that's when the negative spiral and the bad things happen. I have to switch that narrative and say, I can do this. I'm going to pray, whether it's with God or the universe or whatever it is you believe in, like opening yourself up spiritually to the idea that, like, if you ask, then you shall receive. And, setting intentions, meditating, visualizing, praying, changing those thought patterns and habits and actions, and making a plan and actually following through with the discipline that it's going to take to get to your goal. I'm not saying you can just say, oh, I want to do this thing, and then it's going to randomly happen. Like there are steps that you have to take, but make that plan, put it out there, like, and see where you fly.
Sounds to me like you have like a self-care routine is from what you're describing. Can you speak a little? I know you mentioned about the different
Yeah.
things that you do. Can you speak a little bit how that might look?
Totally. I mean, it depends on the day.
Mhm.
I'd like, if I had my perfect day, it would likely, I love just the act of like making a good cup of coffee and sitting down and intentionally drinking it. Because there are so many times when I feel like I have to go, go, go. Like I'm a go, go, go person.
Mhm.
But the days when I make my coffee, sit down, take some breaths, breathe through it, listen to a guided meditation. I have a couple different apps on my phone that that have like both meditations that are just auditory, but then also like a visual one where you're like walking through the forest or whatever. And then they have different things that they focus on for topics. I love that. Taking those moments in the morning to just set yourself up for a successful day has been something that really has changed my day and changed my week. Like I just feel better rather than feeling like I need to do all these things and I have to
Mhm.
go, and oh, I gotta go, like I have to be somewhere in 5 minutes, and
Mhm.
and I feel that I still am that way sometimes, but it's like focusing on the now, taking that extra moment.
Mhm.
And that includes also just in response to when I'm having conversations with people, taking the extra moment to think about what it is I want to say.
Mhm.
um Having an intention for the day. I have a friend who every morning writes down a new intention of what she wants for that day. And I think
Mhm.
that, like, how beautiful that is. Reflecting, praying about what it is you want, meditating, taking a dance class, doing yoga,
Mhm.
whatever it is.
Right. I think what you're talking about is so powerful. I know for me, it has been transformational about 5 years ago, when I got introduced to this mastermind group of experiencing quantum leaps in consciousness, really like this healing journey, right? And looking at who am I being, what are the perceptual filters that are like really distorting my experience of life from these filters, and not really seeing life as it is. We almost never really experience. There's no such thing as an absolute reality. It's all very subjective, right? Based on our traumas, like we talked about earlier. And I feel like self-care, stillness, whether it's meditation, contemplation, coffee, doing a cup of coffee, going for a walk. There's so many ways, right? Like a lot of people say this is the right way, like religions are one. And all really, religions have a beautiful thing. There's spirituality, many different types of healers, gurus, they say this is the way, but there's so many ways. And really what we're trying to do here is get you to look at your way, because we all know, we all have that internal compass, and we can really access that if we just really buy out some time. I mean, we're worth it. I know you talked about like a lot of times we think we're not worthy, right? Like that's a big thing for all of us. I feel like it becomes a filter where we need to prove that we're worthy, or we really sink into, I'm definitely not worthy. And maybe like that's where sobriety goes out the window and we're just like, forget it, I give
Yeah.
up. Right. So it's either we're proving it or we're trying to disprove it, and it becomes like the way our life is expressed. We're not
Mhm.
worthy. But one of the thoughts that I had come through not too long ago was, I am a creator and I am blessed and I
Mhm.
am worthy and I deserve. Right. So what would happen if we just simply woke up every morning and said, I am worthy, I deserve, I am blessed, and I am the creator. I'm co-creating, right? I'm co-creating with this creative energy that
Mhm.
animates all of life, right? Whether our belief system is God, the universe, source, whatever. There's so many, again, so many ways to be. Life is expressed in an infinite variety of ways, but can we direct that creative energy with intention,
Yeah.
mindfulness? Can we just buy out some time to really like see, okay, what is it we talked about? You got into your creative energy and you're able to get into a sober state and direct that energy, and look at you now, what you've created,
Mhm.
and the many more businesses that you created, and your energy and your clarity. So an inspiration, but can we look at what is it for us, because it's different for all of us, right? And what we're trying to do here is like, what is your way? And these are some of the tools like self-care.
Yeah, self-care. I mean, self-care is, I feel like that's how I live now. I'm like, what am I going to do for self-care today?
Mhm.
Because how am I going to be happier? Am I going to go to the spa? I have a membership at a spa where I get to hot tub, sauna, cold plunge, and I try to do this daily, or at least multiple times a week to like help my sanity, and sometimes I start getting down on myself and I'll be like, oh, I'm being too selfish. But
Mhm.
I'm like, self-care isn't selfish, because I can't be in service to other people if I'm not in service to myself first. It's kind of like when you're on an airplane, or in a car, you got to buckle your seatbelt before you help the other person, because if you aren't there to be able to help them, then they can't be helped, right? So it's like, help yourself. Like, think about all the things that you can do to be in service to your body, mind, soul, heart. What is going to bring you the most joy and make you feel the most you, so that you can put forth your best self every day and shine that light, so that other people then get that sunshine ray off of you. I want to be the love, I want to be the light, and in order for me to do that, I have to eat good food, do things for myself that bring me joy, like dance or go on walks or spend time with friends and family, and just all of the things that make me feel good, whether it's even just like getting a tattoo or putting on clothes that make me feel good. Like, all these little things help me to like walk with my head held high,
Mhm.
and know that I'm doing all the right things for myself that feel fabulous, because I am fabulous. I'm fierce, I'm fabulous, I'm fun, and so are all of you. We all are all of
Mhm.
these things.
Right. No, I appreciate you sharing your story and so many gold nuggets and insights and wisdom. It's been a great call. I know we're running on our last 11 minutes, and I really would like to open it up to see if there's any reflections, any thoughts, any questions, anything you would like to express. This is the space to do so, to feel safe to express. We really like honor expression and vulnerability. Josh, Mona, Mango, Aisha, Jennifer, any thoughts, any expressions? The floor is yours. Just simply unmute yourself and or raise your hand and talk away. Give you a minute here to see who's brave enough.
Dun dun dun. And I'll just put in a little tidbit too, which is, you know I was nervous to come and talk today, and I think that I already feel like I've done healing just by sitting here in front of all of you, speaking my truth. So I do encourage you to say anything, like how did it resonate with you? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Like, are there any thoughts that come up? Because the more we can be vulnerable with ourselves and others, the more healing we continue to do too. So just by you being willing to put yourself out there, like, is growth in itself.
Right. And I mean, I get lit up just hosting these calls. It's really inspiring for me. It's the highlight of my day. Really, anytime I talk to anybody or meet with any of my small mastermind groups, it's just beautiful, like the synergy, the expression. Okay, looks like we have somebody new. Um, but yeah, so as a recap, feel free to raise your hands though if you have a comment. We'll definitely give you priority. But as a recap, what would you say as far as your healing journey? Like if somebody, let's say, is going through like a dark time, let's say, and they're struggling with sobriety, what would be some gold nuggets, some wisdom, some insights, like a flashlight of awareness, something that might be something that they could use to get started on a different path?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say first of all, like, reach out to people, right? Like, connection is is one of the most important things. It's like, I feel like like we were talking about, like the self-love, I feel like self-love and connection are two things that we need in order to be the best versions of ourselves. So the more you reach out to people, asking for help, asking for support, getting suggestions, and having people hold your hand, like that, or even just getting a hug, like simple things like that can help boost our boost ourselves and to feel better. um I think for some people, their sobriety journey looks different, right? So some people need or want to reach out to AA or NA or go to a group. Other people just super put their focus into self-care and like going from the extreme of like, putting all these horrible things into their body to trying to eat better, exercise, um, take mindfulness and meditation classes, do breath work, like all of the things that are possible to make you feel better. I think everybody's journey is just going to look different because I know that in the beginning for me, I was going to AA because my ex had actually told me about the 12-step program and had explained that doing the steps had changed his life. And if I'm honest, at first, I was like, I want to do the steps because I want to grow. I didn't know that they were completely related to alcoholism and stopping drinking. I thought you could actually do the steps
Mm-hmm.
and not stop drinking. So initially, when I wanted to do the steps, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I didn't even know that I was going to stop drinking
Mm-hmm.
for sure until I started realizing that that was actually what I needed in order to
Mm-hmm.
like be the best version for myself. And so, like, look into the steps. Like, I mean, just or do parts of the steps. Make amends to people that you've harmed, or have conversations with people about trauma. Um, think about your defects. What are things that aren't that what are ways that you are that are not actually serving you, and how can you change those to be a better you?
Thank you for those suggestions. So powerful. I really feel like at the end of the day, do it for you.
Yeah.
Because if you do it for something else, something outside of you, how long lasting is that going to be, right? Maybe that could be like the starting point. Like, wait, I want to do it for my family, um, or just I don't, I want to do it for my job. I want to keep my job, or whatever it is, right? But ultimately, it has to be like I feel for it to be something that sticks. You mentioned self love. Do I want to be the best version of myself? How do I want to experience life?
Mm.
Am I ready to have clarity? Am I ready to be happy? Am I ready to feel all of my emotions? Am I ready to rewrite my narrative? Whoa, how powerful is that? Am I ready to die for who I am and be reborn literally in a different expression, different narrative, different perspective? So, like, what am I committed to? How do I want to experience life? what am I being, right? Like really self-examination is really, I feel like what we're talking about, and ultimately self-love.
Yeah, so true. I'm curious because I feel like self-love is key, right? And connection and all of that in order to be the best versions of ourselves. I'm curious if any of you also, whether you wanted to say a reflection on anything that you heard today, or if you have something else that you do to practice self-love. Like we really would love to hear from any of you that are listening in. Does anybody want to share something that they practice as self-love, or a habit that they like to do, or a routine, or any kind of reflections?
It looks like Mona has her hand up.
Hi, this is Mona. I just wanted to say that listening to your story really was very positive for me. And your comments about dance and how you feel when you are out on the dance floor. Um, I also love to dance, and I feel like I'm more me when I'm out on the dance floor, and I feel like I express myself. Um, so I'm kind of the type of person I will go. Um, I love to go listen to live music and dance. I'm also in a band and I sing, so that's also a good outlet for me. So I know I understand, the feeling that you get. It's like a release, and it's just you just get to open up and just release all of the stress and the emotions that you have, and you don't even need to talk to anybody. You can just let it all out with your body.
Yeah.
And I don't even care if I'm the only person out on the dance floor. I'll just, be out there because that's an expression for me. So I really appreciate that you brought that up. So thank you very much. And that's all I wanted to comment on.
Thank you, Mona. Yeah, I love dance, and I feel like that's my new positive addiction. Or well, not new. I've always loved to dance, but now I go to concerts and live music events religiously. Like it makes me so happy. And I'm just on the dance floor like you. Could be the only one out there, and I will just be moving and I don't even care because I feel good and it's about me.
You
Yes,
actually,
exactly.
Anyone else? Josh?
Josh, looks like you got your hand up.
Yeah. So thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Noe, for hosting this. This was an incredible call. I just want to say that this was synchronicity for me, and it really resonates. I actually posted something earlier about building energy and momentum through different actions, right? Actions that clear your head, or actions that make you feel good. And you were talking about self-love, and I feel like self-love is the core of creation, if you think about it, right? Because self-love is creating an environment internally and externally for yourself that you enjoy, that brings you joy, right? And that's what allows us to create. Like that's the rawest form of creation. That's where creation starts, if you think about it, from self-love. Oh well, that's how I'm thinking about it. Um, yes, I just want to say thank you. That really resonates with me.
Yeah. You're welcome. And it also makes me think one of the things I have on my wall is a self-love, self-care checklist. And it literally it's like 2 pages with 100+ things that I can do any day, anytime. It has like 2-minute things, 5-minute things, 10-minute things, half an hour, like different suggestions of ways that I can practice self-love throughout my day. And that helps whenever I'm starting to spiral, or if I just feel like I need to do something for me. I look at this list and it's magical. And so what I wanted to offer too is if anybody's interested in receiving this list, you can email me at creativeedenlounge@gmail.com. Again, creativeedenlounge@gmail.com. And I'm happy to send this list to you also.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll post that. I'll get the email before we
Sure.
leave and post it on the Healing Conversations page. Oh, look, like Josh actually posted it on the chat, so you
Perfect.
can grab it there. I know if you could also send that to me, that would be
Yeah,
awesome.
I will.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Does
Mhm.
anybody else have any last closing comments? It looks like we're almost at time, but happy to hear any other reflections.
Otherwise, we'll call our call concluded and complete. Unless somebody has one last minute comment, question, thought, expression. Alicia? Okay, well, I appreciate everybody. Well, Alicia, were you going to say something? It looks like your camera is on. Okay, well, our call complete then. I appreciate, first of all, Shannon, thank you for shining your light and giving us so many insights, wisdom, and so much to really like consider and chew over and digest. So we appreciate everybody here as well that has joined us on the call. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity. And honestly, like I feel just by me speaking my story or parts of my story that I already feel better and more empowered to keep being the best version of myself and who I am. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to keep growing myself.
Thank you. You definitely were inspiring to me. Thank you for sharing your story. And I'm sure you were inspiring to everybody here that's on the call and also on Facebook Live and everybody that will hopefully see this also. We'll be posting this call on YouTube as well on my channel. So anyways, thank you, everybody. Love you guys. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Until next time.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.